Hey Paranormies, it's Jen, and you're back on the light side of the paranormal. As you can see from the title, we are going to be talking about a pretty famous cryptid today. Many people are under the impression that this cryptid is a fictional character in a famous film, when in fact, this movie was based upon a real humanoid creature spotted several times in the 60s, accompanying a major tragedy. So let's talk about the Mothman. Before we get started, if spooky and paranormal stuff is your jam, become a part of our Paranormy fam by clicking that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit your notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the spooky content we put out twice a week all year round. So the first ever reported sighting of this creature was on November 12th in 1966, in a graveyard. How fitting for our channel. A group of 5 men, grave diggers, preparing for a burial in Clendenin, West Virginia, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, spotted a massive winged brown human being jumping from tree to tree and then lifting off and flying from the trees. The men were insistent that this was no bird, it was a humanoid being. Just 3 days later, in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, on November 15th in 1966, 2 couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette, were driving in Roger's black 57 Chevy Bel Air through the area known as the TNT area in West Virginia. This was the site of a former World War II munitions plant, so it was abandoned. It was approximately midnight when Linda noticed that there were 2 red glowing eyes staring at her near the old power plant, and she screamed. The 4 friends sat in the car in the middle of the street looking at this creature. And horror began to sink in as they realized that this was no ordinary bird. It was about 7 feet tall, with its wings folded against its back. As they sped off in terror, it spread its wings and took flight, pursuing them down Highway 62. It followed them to the city limits of Point Pleasant, reaching speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. Roger and Steve described this creature's wingspan as being at least 10 feet wide. They also noted that it was a clumsy runner, as it scuttled to a nearby field on foot after reaching the city limits. At this time, they pulled over to discuss what had just happened to them, and bravely they decided to face their fears and head back to the TNT area. But on their journey back, they saw the creature standing on the side of Highway 62 waiting for them. Thankfully, when their headlights shone on the creature, it took vertical lift and flew above the tree lines. They decided then and there that this was no bird. It was such an unbelievable experience that one of the men said that had he been alone, he would have kept this to himself. But because 4 of them witnessed the same thing, it was time to make a report. When they got back to the city, they went straight to the sheriff's office and filed that report. Police went out investigating but came back empty-handed. The next morning there was a press conference and the press started printing stories about this creature. And this is what began it all. Printing this story sparked several people to come forward with their encounters with this creature. And over the next 13 months, there was thought to be well over 100 experiences with this creature in West Virginia. The name Mothman was thought to be given to this creature as the Batman series was popular at this time, so a similar eerie name was given. One of the sightings reported was from a man named Newell Partridge in Salem, West Virginia. He claimed that he saw strange patterns come across his TV as he was watching it, and then he heard a noise outside. So when he went to go investigate that noise, his flashlight shone on the bright glowing red eyes of a creature in his yard. He said the eyes resembled bicycle reflectors. Following this sighting, Newell's dog went missing and was never found. Many believe that the creature had something to do with the dog's disappearance. Now, Dr. Robert L. Smith, who is an associate professor of wildlife biology at West Virginia University, attributed the sightings to a sandhill crane, which can stand almost as tall as a man and has red circles around its eyes. This is the sandhill crane. Do you think you would mistake this bird for an obvious man with a 10-foot wingspan? I don't think I would, but let's keep going. Many do believe that it could be a sandhill crane that was living in or around the abandoned TNT area, and perhaps it had become deformed. Possibly toxic substances from the old munitions bunkers leaked into the wildlife in the area. Another theory was that it was a prankster hiding out around the abandoned TNT area wearing a Halloween mask. How he took lift and flew and chased somebody, I don't know, but it is one of the theories. It's a terrifying thought that this strange creature might be stalking your hometown. So I can see the urge in wanting to find a comforting answer to what this might be. It's also important to note that the description of the Mothman is similar to several demon archetypes that have been reported being seen during sleep paralysis episodes. So do with that what you will. It's just interesting. So all of these sightings of the Mothman led up to a tragedy on December 15th in 1967, just over a year after the first Mothman sighting. On that cold morning, a single eye bar on the Silver Bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, cracked. The bridge was packed with cars and it began to collapse. It sent cars and pedestrians down into the icy water of the Ohio River. 46 people died. With the bridge's collapse and multiple Mothman sightings leading up to that, it didn't take long for people to make the connection between the two. There were even reports that the Mothman had been spotted sitting on top of the Silver Bridge just days before it collapsed. John Keel wrote the book The Mothman Prophecies, linking together these events and other strange occurrences and UFO sightings and interactions around the area at the same time. The movie, The Mothman Prophecies, is based on this book. The idea that the Mothman sightings preceded disastrous events spread. People made ties to strange sightings before things like the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, the swine flu outbreak in 2009, and the 2011 nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan. After the Silver Bridge collapsed, the sightings of Mothman slowly tapered off, leading people to believe further that these were connected. But in 2016, a man who had recently moved to Point Pleasant reported a sighting of seeing a large winged creature jump from tree to tree and then take off. He claims he had no idea about the Mothman and the history of this in Point Pleasant until he witnessed it himself. It's also important to note that Woodrow Derenberger's first encounter with Indrid Cold was on November 2nd in 1966, just a few days before the gravediggers saw the Mothman. His encounter was on Route 77 in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about with Woodrow Derenberger and Indrid Cold, I did mention and briefly touch on this topic in the Hellier series that we did last year. I do plan on making a video just about Indrid Cold, so that will be coming. But just to give you a brief idea of what I'm talking about, Woodrow Derenberger was a man who was driving home one night and a spaceship essentially pulled him over, and somebody resembling a man with a very big grin and sunglasses came out and spoke to him, telling him he was Indrid Cold, but he was not a human. It's very creepy and interesting, and it goes further than that, but I just wanted to mention that this incredible interaction with some type of extraterrestrial and UFOs, it was all around the same time, days before the Mothman started being seen. If you have never seen the Mothman Prophecies movie, I highly suggest watching it. It's very creepy in an unsettling way, and it definitely makes this creature seem a lot more mysterious and frightening. So have you ever heard of the Mothman? I feel like a lot of you have, especially if you're into creatures and cryptids, or even just scary movies. But I want you to comment down below and let me know if you believe the Mothman is real, or if you believe it could have been a sandhill crane. This was a quick one, guys. I know that the Mothman is talked about a lot in the paranormal community, and we're trying to touch on paranormal aspects that aren't covered as much, but I just wanted to make this one as I do plan on making a video about Indrid Cold as well. So if you like this video, please make sure to give that like button a little boop. It's one click and it helps us out so much, and we really do appreciate it. If you're not already following on Instagram, please go ahead and do that at TLS_paranormal. And you can follow Alice and myself on our personal pages as well, and everything is linked in the description below. If you have any crazy creature, cryptids, or folklore that you want us to cover, please leave that in the comment section as well, and we'll do our best to cover that in an upcoming video for you. But until next time, keep on creeping on. Bye!